Hey guys, it's Shane, and I wanted to go over now some things about Dubai, some things that you might want to know if you're going to travel there, if you're just interested in the country. But I just wanted to go over some things that I observed and noticed. I was only there for one day, but I got to see a lot of it. And first off, I will say that it's much bigger than I thought it was. There's a train, or there's the metro that is like a subway, and it goes from one part of the city near the airport all the way down to the newer part of the city. And I'm pretty sure to take that whole thing, it took like 45 minutes, and that's going pretty fast. So that kind of gave me an idea of how big it was. Now the metro doesn't even go down to the even newer part. So if you guys see on a map, or if you've heard of Dubai, you know that they have the artificial island that's like a palm tree. It's shaped as a palm tree, and it's amazing. Well, anyways, they're making one like twice the size further down. When I went there, talking about the palm trees, when I went there, it just seemed like with the buildings and the different projects that they have going on, it seems like they're trying to prove something, maybe trying to one-up each other. That's what the whole city seems like. It seems like everybody trying to one-up each other. Oh, you made a tower higher, I'll make another one. Because they have the highest tower in the world, you know that. But they're in the process right now of making an even higher one. And it makes you think like, why, you know? So that one's gonna be the tallest in the entire world. Some guy told me that it wasn't going to be something like the other building where you have offices and apartments and stuff like that. It's going to be just for going up and looking out of it. So I don't know, it kind of seems silly. But going back to the metro is super nice. It's only like 6 years old. They make it so that you can stay out of the heat for the most part, for wherever you're going. Whenever you're getting off the metro and you're going somewhere, they usually have tunnels that you go through that are all air conditioned, which is super helpful because I was outside for anytime you go outside for about like 10 to 15 minutes, you will be drenched in sweat. Now, I'm obviously going in the summertime, but I'm talking like I was wearing shorts and everything, and it was just like shirt completely drenched, sweat just pouring down. So I really should have had something on my forehead to stop the sweat from coming down. So the metro is super nice. One thing that surprised me a lot was how nice the people were. I didn't think that. When I was first there, I didn't even take out my camera for the first few hours because I was just not sure what to think if somebody was gonna try to hijack me, you know, throw me in their van or something like that. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen, but for the most part, Dubai is more of a free country, and it's not as strict on religion and stuff like that. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But they really don't have like any homeless people. I didn't see any homeless people. Other people that said they didn't have any. They don't really have. It was super clean. It was a super clean city, and I didn't really have anybody begging for anything, nothing like that. So you know, that all to say that it made me a little more comfortable. So after a couple hours, I took my camera out and realized it was safe, and people were really nice about it. People were really nice, and you know, it was just not what I expected. So it was a really good welcome to the Arab Muslim community, and it kind of made me think of things a lot differently. After the entire day, it made me think, you know, it's kind of like a myth that we should be afraid. You know, when you travel, especially if you're going to the Middle East, like, you should have this great fear. And it's like, yeah, possibly, but, you know, going down to Philadelphia in some parts and different parts in America, it's the same thing. So, I mean, really, especially as a Christian, you really shouldn't have that fear. You should know that you're in God's will. Hopefully you're praying to be in God's will, and He'll take care of you. So that's to cover the metro. The heat obviously was crazy. I could not believe the Persian Gulf water was so hot. It was like a hot tub. It was like, didn't expect that. I thought the ocean was cold no matter where you went. So yeah, I stuck my feet in there, and that wasn't refreshing. Overall, the city was like super rich. It was like everybody had a decent job, everybody had a decent amount of money. Again, it was super clean. It just seemed like they are the way of the future. It just seemed like a futuristic city, and I know that's what they're going for too, but they're definitely doing it. There'd be different sections of the city that were just skyscrapers really high, and you think, oh, that's the center of the city, but then you go down quite a ways, and then they have another section of the city that's like that, and then another one, and it's like, whoa, this place is growing fast. They had a lot of different ethnicities there. I think a lot of Filipinos. Seemed like a decent amount of Asian people live there, actually. I talked to one, and she said she got a job there. I talked to another Lebanese guy. He got a job there. So there's people from all over the place getting jobs in Dubai and living there. It's definitely not cheap to go there. Food, everything else, it's about the same as America, probably a little more. So it's definitely not going to be somewhere that you want to go just for fun, maybe for a day, but other than that, you might just be wasting money and resources, and yeah, I don't know if that's a great idea. I talked to one person on the plane on my way there. He was from Pakistan, and he actually started telling me about the Quran, and I didn't quite reveal to him that I was a Christian yet. I didn't quite reveal to him that I've read the Bible and that I went to Bible college. So I just kind of let him talk and listened, and let him know I was an open ear. He was super nice, and he was just going over the Quran. And you know, it's interesting how Muslims will all say the same exact thing, but it's almost like they're trained to say it because they say it in the same way. Like, oh, the Bible. Like, I didn't even mention the Bible, and he was like, oh, the Bible was rewritten, has all these errors, but the Quran is, every word is perfect. It's the whole Bible. And so I let him talk, and that's fine. And then I asked him questions. I didn't say, well, tell him he was wrong or anything like that. I just asked him questions. And I was sincere, I was genuine about it. But I asked him questions like, where does the Quran have the same stories as the Bible? And they said, yeah, the Old Testament stories, they're in the Quran. Yeah. I said, okay, who wrote the Quran? Was it Muhammad or his friends? Now, we already know his friends wrote it, but he was saying Muhammad, so I knew he wasn't totally educated on the matter. And he kind of kept a broad, he kept his answers really vague and kind of simple. It wasn't super educated, you could tell. But he was an older guy. He was educated himself, but just not in the matter. It was almost like he was trained to say the right things. So I said, so if I look at the Old Testament and I look at the Quran, whenever they talk about Moses, David, Noah, any of those stories, Adam and Eve, they should all match up, right? Because they got those stories from the Bible. And it seemed like he never thought about that. He was like, oh, I'm not sure. And there were so many other questions I could have asked him, such as, the Quran tells you that you should listen to people that read the Bible, Christians, because they have the gospel, and you should listen about the gospel. But if they think the Bible is false, why would they ever do that? And if the gospel is true, why wouldn't that be in the Quran? So you could just start asking a bunch of different questions and see if they really know any of those types of things without coming off aggressively or like you're putting them down or anything like that. Eventually, he asked me if I was a Christian, and I said, yeah, I'm a Christian. And he said, oh, okay. And so I asked him about Mecca. He said he went there, and Medina. Obviously, you can't go to Mecca if you're not Muslim. He said it would be really scary if they found out you weren't Muslim and you went there somehow. which obviously that would definitely be on my bucket list to try to go there. But if you can't really witness while you're there, what's really the point? So Medina you can go, but anyways, Saudi Arabia I'm really interested in how many missionaries there and stuff like that. So what else about Dubai? Yeah, so the guy on the plane, we ended off on a really good note. He said, "You should read the Quran." I said, "Yeah, I definitely will," but because I've read parts of it, but I didn't read the whole thing. I would like to read a lot of it and study it a lot more. So I was being honest with him about that, and I said, "Yeah, I would really like to look at the facts." And I was trying to really focus on the fact that things ought to make sense. They ought to be reasonable. And just from the questions I was asking him, it seemed like it wasn't quite reasonable. I was hoping that he would pick up on that as far as being a Muslim. But I know people have done that to me in hopes when I witness them about Christianity and they try to ask questions to disprove it as I'm talking to them. So I know that people can do that no matter what. And so if you're a Christian, beware of that. So anyways, Muslims seem really friendly, and it seemed like you could really develop relationships with them, and that was super helpful. But yeah, let's talk about the food. The food was just like America. I'm telling you, it was like America on steroids. It was like the whole city is just like a glamorous. The best way I could explain that city is just to say it's magnificent. It's almost like a glimpse of heaven, it seems like, or at least that's what it seems like they're going for. But it's like one big vacation spot, and so obviously the food is, all the food is just like America, and better because they have a lot more rich culture in their food and stuff. But they have everything you could want. Even their convenience stores has normal food, normal snacks. I know I went to their grocery store, it had everything that we have. They even have a protein section, and I'm not kidding about this. When I'm traveling, I like to have protein bars everywhere I go because it gives me energy and protein, which are super essential when I'm walking everywhere. And so they had a protein section, every protein bar that they have in America. This is awesome. I just stacked up on that stuff, but I already bought some before coming here because I knew I didn't want to waste money. But that was really awesome because almost every other country I go to, it's not like that. So they're definitely right where they need to be as far as food goes. But yeah, let's talk about the language. So everybody speaks American. I would go into stores and they would just be speaking English, and they would be using Arab language and English kind of simultaneously. And when I've gone to other countries, they usually see me, and I always try to blend in, but it seems like you can't sometimes as an American. And so when I've gone to other countries, I've had people where they'll speak their language and then they'll see me and start speaking English, and I'll think to myself, come on, you just stereotyped me. You just totally were like, oh, that's an American, I'm gonna sucker him to buy this or do this. Hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? Thinking, oh, he's a traveler, I know all about him. No, you haven't figured me out. You don't know why I'm here. But in Dubai, people would do that, like speak to me in English, but then they would talk to their friend in English. So I really could never tell if they were just trying to adjust to get me to like something or buy something or listen to them, whatever it was. But it seemed like they really do use English a lot, which is super helpful. And that made the whole experience that much better. So that was super nice. Their English is really good. And yeah, so when I got to the country, I had a drone, obviously, in my bag. They stopped me and they said, okay, you have to go to customs. And I thought, oh boy, I've never had this happen before. I'm risking it, but I was like, what's gonna happen? So they brought me over there. I'm like, oh man, is this gonna be like Nicaragua where they take your drone, they say, okay, it has to stay here, and every day it's gonna be $100 for us to store it? That's what I was afraid of. So we went in there and no, it was free. They just took the drone. Obviously, I was only there for a day. If you were there longer, they probably would charge you. But that was super nice. They made it super easy, and they were really nice about it. It was a real easy process. So they just had me in there, had me sign some stuff, took my drone, and yeah, that was that. As far as like cars and stuff like that, yeah, people had a lot of Teslas and stuff like cars, nice cars, but it was just like any other nicer area in America. It wasn't super glamorous. I mean, I've been working down in Stone Harbor, New Jersey, and I've been seeing Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all that type of stuff all the time. So that's kind of what I'm comparing it to, and it wasn't like something crazy as far as vehicles go. I will say this, as a single guy or single guys, you probably shouldn't go there, and probably the same goes for single girls, because it's kind of like a city that tailors itself to that. Just to be honest, probably by far the most good looking girls I've seen were there. I mean, it was like 8 out of 10 were really good looking. It was pretty crazy. And so probably not a good idea if you're single. Probably not a good idea if you're married either. Like a lot of other countries, they love their malls. So they have a bunch of malls. I mean, all the time. It's just, oh, here's another mall, here's another mall, which is awesome because you're inside in the air conditioning. And I'm pretty sure that's probably why they have a lot of malls, so that they can shop inside with the air conditioning. People there are just not too fond of the heat. I was, because I'm just trying to soak it in. I'm just sick of the cold after living in North Dakota for 6 years. Even in New Jersey, it gets cold. I'm just like, I love the heat. My comfort zone is about 95 degrees. So there, it was like 106, 108, but it felt like 120 for sure. I mean, you could hardly breathe. It was like, but you know, it's like anywhere else, you get used to it. As far as dressing when you get there, people are dressed in all types of ways, but there's a lot of business type people. So just to let you know, this goes for anywhere you go. People don't usually wear t-shirts like this. They don't wear t-shirts, and some of the stuff we wear, some of the shoes, some of like sport shoes with the high socks, like stuff like that makes people really recognize you as an American real fast. Like stuff like just wearing this hat, this shirt. I wasn't too concerned with it being in Dubai. I wasn't gonna be there long. I was just there to capture footage and stuff, but just keep that in mind. Like, people don't usually wear that. They usually dress really nice in like business type clothes, or their casual clothing is just gonna be like stylish. It's not gonna be, they care less about comfort. It seems like it's more, well, I don't know. It's like some of them will have like those full white outfits, and they seem pretty comfortable. But you know, it's more of like a culture thing. So I don't know. I feel like America, we're just really plain, and it's not usually like that everywhere else. So if you don't want to stick out, don't be that way. So I don't think there was a strong Christian presence at all. Pretty sure most of everybody was a Muslim. There was a few mosques that I saw. But I honestly don't think it would be too hard to start to establish something, to start witnessing to people. I don't know all the laws on that, if you're allowed to do that, but it seems like people are pretty open. They're open to conversation. They're nice. The only thing that I would say is the Bible says in Luke 6:24, "Woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your consolation." Jesus said that. And so being in such like a rich place, it almost seems like that would be a huge blinder to people getting saved. And I don't really know if that's where God would want people to focus their time on, because again, He says, "For you have received your consolation, you have received your comfort." He's more after the poor, the brokenhearted. We see that in Luke chapter 4, verse 18 and 19. We see who Jesus focuses on, because He can't save people that aren't lost, and they have to see that they're lost and wicked, and that they actually need Him before they can get saved. And so we know that we just had to be wise stewards on who we're investing our time on. But most of the places had Wi-Fi. Most of the places you could connect. The metro was super cheap. It was like $1 or $2 or something. And yeah, there's a lot to do there as far as having fun. So there's just plenty to do. I didn't get out into the dunes. You can go out there and get some different rides on camels and on different vehicles and stuff like that. I would definitely like to go back and do something like that. But apparently right now, with it being so hot, there's not a lot of people there, and a lot of people don't want to go there right now. So usually in the winter, that's when everybody kept saying, oh, you should come back in the winter. That's when everybody's here. This place is like really crazy. And that's probably when I won't go. But just keep that in mind. They're all about their winters. And they have, I forget what the place was called. It was like the 7-star hotel or something. It's a big hotel out on the pier, really nice. Well, they said one of the suites in there is $40,000 a night. So that was kind of crazy, but that kind of gives you an idea. The people that are going there have Persian Gulf money, or they have Middle East money, or they have, or they're the top sector of the world that are going there on vacation. So anyways, that kind of wrapped it up. I was only there for a day. Super hot. Obviously, that's one of the main things that I'm gonna notice. And I was super impressed. I mean, it was just super clean, super nice, and definitely was somewhere I would want to go with on a honeymoon or something like that, because it's just like you can just sit back and relax. So if you could take the heat, why not? But anyways, that wraps it up for that. If you guys have any questions, definitely give me some, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. But thanks guys for listening, and until next country, we'll see you later.